All right. Good evening, everybody. It's the old sir coming at you from Robinson County, North Carolina. We are thrilled, excited to have each and everybody here tonight. If you're new to this channel, hopefully you'll enjoy tonight's program, so much so that you'll hit the like and subscribe button below and come back and join us again on every Monday night. But tonight is a special one. We're dedicating all our poems tonight to honor our veterans. If there's any veterans watching tonight, I want to say thank you for your service, to your family for theirs. It certainly goes without saying that a simple thank you sometimes doesn't seem like enough, but also, like I said, we want to thank the families too, because when their loved ones off serving, they're serving in their own right. So I want to thank them as well. But we're going to wait just a few minutes to see who else joins in, and we'll get started into reading some of our poems. I've got some new ones for tonight. I'm going to read some of my older ones. And just going to have a good time tonight. Did everybody get their buddy poppies this year? Oh, yeah, there we go. Got to figure this thing out while this camera's pointing. It'll be really. But let's see. I've got Billy Bob. I've got Vanessa Kitty, Chico Wise overall on the side chat. Warsaw, good to see you, brother. You got snow there? I'm jealous. I am jealous. Actually, I was just checking the weather forecast for here. They're calling for snow here Wednesday, which if we get snow here Wednesday, that's awful early in the year for us, which means there's more of that stuff to fall throughout the winter for us. Not necessarily a bad thing, but down here in North Carolina, nobody can drive in it. I bet it is. I bet it is. It was fairly cold last night here. But the prediction tomorrow night is because we're gonna have a low of like 25 tomorrow night. So yeah, it's supposed to get down rather cold tonight. Not tonight, tomorrow night. Excuse me. Trying to see something here on the phone, and the phone's not playing right, which is par for course. Warsaw, did you get a reminder on this video? Did it pop up? Just out of curiosity. Hello, Miss Patriot Farm. How are you, young lady? And happy Veterans Day to you and to your family as well. Glad to have you with us tonight. Oh, nice, Warsaw. Cool. You have to do a video of it once you get installed. Patriot Farm, what's the weather like out in your part of North Carolina tonight? We're comparing weather reports. Trying to get mine to pull up now. No, I don't want to look at that. They're telling me here tomorrow I'm going to wake up to a high of 53 with a low of 29. Wednesday, a high of 44 with a low of 26 with possibility of snow. Oh, okay. Well, so I'm going to have to work on that. I set the reminder. I posted it. So hopefully everybody else is still remembering I can't even talk tonight. The reminders I put out throughout the week. So, but I'm going to give a few minutes for some others to join in, and then we'll get started. Like I said, I've got a selection of poems that are ready to go for tonight's event. Of course, I got started a few minutes early, so we're going to see who shows up here in a minute. Yeah, I'm thinking it might be. And I'm still trying to figure out how you merge StreamYard with live stream. Blue Healer 260. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Ooh, yeah, y'all gonna be colder than we're at. Of course, you're right there in the mountains too. So, like I said, I've got an uncle that lives in Hickory. I know he talks about the temperature change when he drives down from there down to here sometimes to check things. Um, so yeah, I know y'all got some cold weather then. You got all your livestock taken care of, Patriot Farm? They ready for this cold weather? Might have to look into that one more. So StreamYard, Jamie from JH586 recommended this for me. And then, like I said, it's pretty good. I just figuring out how to do the notifications through it to YouTube so they go out on the reminder. But one of those things. Yeah, we're supposed to get a cold snap here soon. Okay, good deal, Patriot Farm. For those of you just tuning in, we've got Patriot Farm over on the side chat. We give her a special shout out. If you don't know, she herself is a veteran, one, but two, her husband's currently deployed. So, if you will, keep her in your thoughts and prayers, and her family and her husband. Takes a special kind of family to go through that, and we want to keep them in our prayers. Definitely so. I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and get started. And as people join in, they just join in. But the first one I'm going to read is not one I wrote. This is one that we've probably heard, or many of us have probably heard. But it's simply in Flanders Fields. If you don't know anything about Flanders Field, it was a battlefield in France during World War I. And many a young life was lost on that battlefield in one day. And poppies began to grow where the battlefield was. And that's kind of where we get the buddy poppy from. And it's to remember and remind us of those that didn't make it home. But the poem goes to read, in Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. Very somber poem. It belies the sacrifice that many in our nation make each and every day. But just wanted to share that one with you tonight because, again, that's where we get the buddy poppy from. And if you know anything about the buddy poppies, many of our allies wear them during this time of day. In Canada, England, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. Today is known as Remembrance Day. And it was the 11th day of the 11th hour of the 11th month that the armistice was signed that ended what we now know as World War I. Back then it was just called the Great War or the War to End All Wars. Sadly, that did not hold to be true. Warsaw, the poppies, they grow in Afghanistan, produce it, but there's more than one type. But the poppies begin to represent, veterans begin to use them as a drive to raise funds for veterans organizations. And we began adopting it here in the U.S. when we formed the American Legion, the VFW, and so forth on the line. So pretty much most of ours has a form of a poppy that are handed out, and people give donations there for them. I did go online last year and found these metallic ones that you can pin on, and I thought they were pretty cool because it's got "Lest We Forget" on there as well. Found them on Amazon. Just went in and Googled or looked up, and I cannot talk tonight, saved my life. I went in and typed in, buddy poppies, and this popped up. So I ordered a bunch of them. I keep one on my Sunday coat, and I got another one I got on my shirt tonight. But it's just my way, our way of showing support for our veterans. So just a little history there about Veterans Day and the poppy. But yeah, sadly, World War I would not end armed conflict on the U.S. or in the world, I should say. I say the U.S., but in the world. I'm a firm believer, as long as man's on the face of the earth, there will always be wars and rumors of wars to come. But tragically, what people don't know, and Warsaw does. Now, Warsaw's done some history on this, and he knows. There was a lot of wars that led up to World War I in Europe. A lot of people don't realize that the Hungarians and the Serbs and the Croats, they were fighting amongst themselves already. And this whole chain of events led up to the event that kind of struck the match that set the spark off that started World War I. And it really literally changed the face of global politics from there on out. So, but it looks like we're up to 4 so far over on the side chat, or well, viewing it says. I imagine there's certainly more. If you're watching, chime in over on the side chat. Let us know you're here. And we will move right along, because I got one here that if you're an Army veteran, you're gonna love this one. This one's kind of funny. And I threw some humorous poems in here tonight too. Because being in the military is not always about fighting and dying. It's you have some fun times too. And if anybody's ever been in the Army, and the Marines, I think, can relate to this one. I call it the Ode to the Whoopee. Now, Patriot Farm is watching. She should know what a whoopee is, but it's AKA the poncho liner. If you don't know what a poncho liner is, it's a quilted type blanket, if you will, lightweight nylon polyfilled. It was designed during the Vietnam War to be tied into a poncho so that you have a lightweight sleeping bag. But if anybody's ever spending time in the cold in Grafenwehr, Hohenfeld, wherever they might have served, and it gets cold, a poncho liner is a good intermediate blanket that you can wrap around yourself and stay warm until you get your sleeping bag out. Well, what are we having for supper, Blue Healer 260? If it's any good, I'm coming your way. Blue Healer was saying he was fixing supper. But ode to the whoopee. Oh whoopee, how I love thee, how I long to lay with thee. Oh whoopee, you keep me warm at night. When evening comes, I want you in my sight. Oh whoopee, how precious you are to me. So soft, so warm, oh, so silky. Oh whoopee, you wrap around me, you hold me tight. Oh whoopee, you are my best friend, you are the best part of me. Oh whoopee, I would search the world for thee, no stone left unturned looking for thee. Oh whoopee, you keep the cold ground away from me, you protect me. Oh whoopee, you are the world to me. Share you, I cannot to thee. Oh whoopee, camouflage and color you come, that is a blessing to me. Oh whoopee, when I wash you, oh how I miss thee. Oh whoopee, never, never leave me. Without you, I could not be. I hope everybody likes that one. But like I said, if you ever spent any time in the military, especially the Army, Marine Corps, you have probably curled up with a poncho liner at some occasion, at some event. And it's definitely something of comfort. Definitely is something of comfort. So, okay, Blue Healer, trust you is not what? It's not any good. I'll still come over and eat if you invite me. Not that I can complain. I come home and my wife made her old soldier steak and potatoes, so I was happy about that. Fried steak and potatoes. So, but I've had worse meals in better places and better meals in worse places, if that makes sense. So, get caught up on the side chat. Oh, you're absolutely right, Warsaw, about being family. Family is a lot of times is who and what you make your family. I have men that I call brothers that none of which are blood related to me. And I still continue to call them my brothers today. One of them would be Luke Dog if he shows up tonight. Luke Dog and I grew up in East Point, Georgia together some years back when we were little. And through social media have been able to reconnect. But I was looking on Facebook today and he had a picture of his daddy on a tank in World War II. His daddy was a tanker. My daddy was a paratrooper. When we were growing up, we used to think that our daddies won World War II by themselves. And nobody else, just our two dads. But anyway. So let's see what else we got going on. There's some others I'll be reading here shortly in a little bit. And like I said, I'm kind of wanting to see who else we get out here. Ramen noodles. Hey, I can go with ramen noodles. I'm actually going to take some to work tomorrow. I know exactly where that's at, Patriot Farm. Warner Robins. I want to say it's about an hour and a half south of Atlanta. When I was a kid and we lived there, sometimes Dad would go down there and we'd go to the Air Force Base and just snoop around and see what they had in the PX there. Well, in the other services, it's the BX. But we'd go there and other places as well. But Warner Robins is a pretty nice place. Pretty nice place. I'm trying to find another good one out of the book I want to read tonight too. And I'm trying to remember which book I put it in. Yeah, I'm going to read that one. Definitely going to read that one tonight when we get to it. But yeah, Blue Healer ramen noodles makes a good meal. Especially, it's quick, simple, fill you up, it's hot. A lot of times that's all that matters, is it just being hot. Worst thing to be is out in the field, cold and miserable, and have to eat a cold meal. Been there and done that too. But all in all, you're still thankful for the meals you do get when you get them. That's another part of service. And those of you that are out there in the chat that are veterans know that that's another bonding experience in your military career is the chow. Believe it or not, a lot of your best conversations take place in the chow line and the chow hall with your compatriots and comrades. And sometimes it's the best part of the day you look forward to, depending on what they're serving. What I like too was the Thanksgiving spreads they put on the chow hall. Now those were always awesome. Those were always awesome. Truth freeze, I could not tell you. I didn't catch that question. I'd have to go back in my history books and see on that one. But we're talking about Veterans Day, so trying to stay on track with that. Well, Keith, where I'm at, it's been kind of cool and cold in the morning. It was a little warmer today. Now, Patriot Farm, her part of North Carolina, she said it was warm today, but they're calling for 19 degrees tomorrow for where she's at. I know for me this week, well, tomorrow my high is going to be 53 with a low of about 25. And it's going to stay that way through about Friday. So, yeah, it's starting to, winter's finally set in. And to you too, Keith, glad you could make it with us tonight. Thanks for joining us. But what was your best part of your service, Keith? I was just talking about Chow Hall just a minute ago. For me, that's where a lot of things took place. A lot of bonding took place. Now you were in the Navy, so I know you had to ate pretty good. I had the opportunity to eat the galleys in Puerto Rico, down at Rosie Roads years ago, and that was some good. That was some good grub in that Navy galley. And I ain't gonna lie. Well, where are you at, Truth Freeze, in the nation? Where do you live at in the country? If you don't mind me asking. Saying you get the Arctic blast. But yeah, there is a cold front coming from the northwest, moving southeast. And I was not reading, listen to me. I was hearing Janice Dean talk about it some this morning. They say there's a potential of some heavy snowfalls to possibly hit New York State this week. So that kind of early in the year too. But yeah. You lost me on that one, Warsaw. I have to think about that one because I'm trying to think. Buddy's live against it. Yeah, that now, Keith, that's another part of service. Traveling. I didn't get to see as many countries as you did, but that's the other thing. Why I love the Air Force. Air Force flew me everywhere in the world I wanted to go, or everywhere in the world I didn't want to go, but at least they brought me back home. Oh yeah, one of our interpreters. Yeah, I said I know what you're saying. One of my interpreters last time was in Iraq. He was Yazidi. Really wasn't Muslim. He was just Yazidi, which is kind of. I'm not going to get into that whole diatribe tonight, but they're technically forbidden from eating pork. But we had to go onto an American base and eat, and he smelt the bacon cooking, and he decided he was going to have it. Whether they, that's right. And it took me a minute because it was bacon, and he said he had to go get him a whole pile of bacon because he liked the smell of it. He tasted it, and he said, "I don't care what my religion says. This is good. I'm going to eat it." So he did. Oh wow, that's 50 countries in 4 years. That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, the next one I'm going to read for you. This one's near and dear because I am one. And it's simply titled A Paratrooper. And it goes to read, smartly he walks, a strut in his step. Jump boots that gleam, shined and polished like mirrored glass. Ribbons of service, those of valor, showing years of service, proudly yet humbly pinned to his chest. Above all else, silver they are, proudly placed above his heart. Jump wings, coveted by many and earned by few. Earned with sweat and hard work too, multiple jumps from planes high above, under canopy round to the ground. On his head a maroon beret is worn, looking sharp as a razor, as he should be as a United States soldier. A volunteer he is, and proudly so, but respectful and proud of those who came before, earning the title United States Paratrooper. Yeah, that's a point of contention, Truth Freeze. I will say in the last 3 years, some drastic things have been done to improve, but they've got a long way to go. And the sad part about it is people want to blame this person or that person, but it really goes back. You could go all the way back to past the Carter administration if you really want to start pointing fingers at it. No, it's not, Truth Freeze. But any person that tells you they've jumped out of a plane that weren't scared, they're either a liar or a fool. So be cautious around them. And Keith, you're one of the fortunate ones. My experience when I retired, they assigned me to a clinic. For a while, they were doing well with me, and then all of a sudden, couldn't get my doctor to do two simple things. They wanted to put me on a ton of medication, and then every time I tried to get an appointment, I couldn't. So after a year, I got dropped out of the. I didn't get dropped out of the healthcare. I just got dropped out of my clinic, and nobody ever returned my calls. I think too at the VA it goes by region. I hate to say it that way, but I think some regions are better than others. Do you want to go out? Excuse me, folks. Rebel Dog needs to go out. I'll be right back. All right. Go tell Mama. Go tell her. Guess he needed to go out. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, and sadly things like that happen, Truth Freeze. But they're getting better. I'm finally in a clinic that I feel like they listen to me. That was the other thing. The first clinic they assigned me to, it was like they heard what I was saying, but they weren't listening to what I was saying. So, all right, Blue Healer, you be safe. Thanks for dropping in. You have a good evening. But yeah. So if you're a veteran and you're on the side chat, feel free to tell us about some of the favorite things of your service. Like I said, for me, going to mess hall and chow, especially Thanksgiving or Christmas, they always put on a good spread. Come on in, Mrs. Old Soldier, and say hi. Nope, she decided not to. Well, Patriot Farm, my knees are full of arthritis. And believe it or not, it's not so much from the jumping. And Fort Bragg, like I know Fort Bragg, there's a lot of concrete and asphalt that they have you run on. And believe it or not, I had a sports medicine doctor tell me about 60% of my damage to my back and knees was from running on concrete. Well, Keith, they do if you don't have a service-connected disability or you're below the 50% threshold. If you've got 50% or higher, your health care is supposed to be completely paid for. Which I think if you've got below 50%, the VA will treat anything with your service-connected disabilities free of charge. And then they charge you at whatever rate for other things. And if you don't have a service-connected rating, you can still get in if you're below a certain income threshold. It's kind of a weird system how it all works out, but yeah, my bad knees, bad back. Interesting. I wondered if somebody was doing that, Truth. Because I've had a fusion in my neck and my lower back, and both of them were for doctors been in the field for years. Never once mentioned it. Of course, I didn't go through the VA when I had those surgeries. I used TRICARE through the Department of Defense, and that might be why. But I'm gonna have to look into that one because if they can do that, that'd save a lot of people from the fusion. And fusion, I'll tell you, it's got its pros, but it's got its cons too. One of them is arthritis. So I think you're onto something there, Truth Freeze. Sadly, people don't like to acknowledge that stem cells have a use. I was sergeant first class when I retired, Keith. But I think there's some benefits to be had with the stem cell. I'm not crazy about how they go about getting stem cells, but um, there's pros and cons to everything when it comes to healthcare, though. Yeah, E7, Keith, E7, pay grade E7, be the equivalent of a chief petty officer. So, but again, and for those that are just joining us, welcome to the program. We're having a Veterans Day special with the old soldier. I'm your old soldier. And we're reading just poems and poetry dedicated to our veterans and thanking them for their service to our country. What else we got here to read tonight? Oh, I got a bunch picked out, so we're going to keep going. Next one I'll read for you is titled "To Be a Soldier." Why? Because I was a soldier. And it goes to read, "To be a soldier is what I wanted, and so I did with all that I was. From when I was little, hearing Daddy's stories of camaraderie, of selfless service, seeing others in their uniforms pressed and starched, their boots shiny and bright. This was what I wanted with all my heart. A career in the Army, that is what I sought. It was the best of me, at times the worst. Being a soldier was my life, was my heart. Duty at home and duty abroad, memories of good times and some nightmares too. To be a part of something larger than myself, this is what I wanted to do. For it, I gave a portion of my life. It was my honor, a privilege too, this career I chose to serve as a soldier." Hope y'all like that one. So we got over here else on the side chat. Okay, we stopped over the stem cell. We're talking about that. And I'm gonna, like I said, Truth Freeze. I'm gonna have to look into that one. That was pretty cool. I appreciate it, Patriot Farm. And for those that haven't checked her out, y'all need to go check out her channel and hit the like and subscribe on her channel. Especially if you want to learn about gardening and animal care. Go check her channel out when you get a chance. She'd appreciate it. I'd appreciate it. And like I said, for those that are joining, I mentioned earlier, just a special shout out to her. She herself is a veteran, but also her husband is still serving and is currently deployed. And so just prayers and thoughts to her as he's deployed. And this is kind of a rough time of year for deployment. It always has been. When my unit went to Desert Storm, we left. We departed Germany 5 days before Christmas. Departed Germany 5 days before Christmas. So had Christmas dinner in the middle of the desert. Well, not in the middle, but near a port in Saudi Arabia. That's always a good story to tell. Stood in the 2-mile line for Christmas dinner. Found out the turkeys they flew in had spoiled. So they had to get into a rush and find what we call T-rats or tray rations of turkey to substitute for the real turkeys that they had flown over to cook for us. But somewhere in the process, something happened. They spoiled and had gone bad. And then I stood in another line about a mile long to buy myself a pint of ice cream from Baskin Robbins as a treat to myself for Christmas. So the things we do when we were in the service. I can remember making my first morale phone call from Saudi Arabia and my mother crying on the phone. It was rough on her because we had just lost my daddy the previous year, so it was rough on her. Big events that have always happened. When it seems like all these big things always happen ever since I was in uniform. Then again, I spent a lot, most of my adult life in uniform. So well, Warsaw, I'll tell you my opinion of that question. There's an old adage, they say there's no atheists in foxholes. Doesn't necessarily mean they turn into Christians in the foxholes either. But when I used to jump, people that didn't act any bit, they were just disenfranchised with God altogether, got on an airplane, and would next thing you know, they're praying. So some people put on an act, some don't. But I've met people flat out that weren't atheists tell you they're atheists. I think the majority of them were agnostic more than they were atheists. Hey, Chico, glad to see you tonight, sir. Glad to be with you and have you here with us. But yeah, Warsaw. Yeah, the old adage is there's no atheists in foxholes. There's some truth to that in the sense that when you don't know if you're going to live or die, you start turning to things that normally you wouldn't even think of. Like I said, I used to see it jump when I jumped. People get in an airplane, all of a sudden, all their bravado went out the door because they were scared to their wits' end about whether their parachute was going to open or not, or they were going to break a leg on a drop zone, that kind of thing. But Chico, glad to have you with us. And we're going to go into another one. This one I wrote, and this one's near and dear to me because I don't expect people to thank me for my service. My wife asked me this morning how I felt about that when people do it, and what it is. Fox News did a poll on it. It's about 49% of veterans don't like to be thanked for their service. They would rather you ask them when and where they serve. The reason being is a lot of times people come to thank me for my service, and I feel kind of awkward on how to respond. I've learned to kind of just respond with either thank you for your support or it was an honor and a privilege to have served. But sometimes it just makes us feel uncomfortable. But this one, there's another one that gets me is that I heard it from many people, and their whole thing was, thanks for doing this. Thanks, glad you did it. Or parents saying, not my child, let somebody else's. And so I wrote this one, and it's kind of poignant, and it's titled Remember Me. And it goes to read, remember me now as I was then. Remember me when I left, proud and full of life. Remember me in my innocence before life came in and skewed who I was. Remember me, the one who left to go and defend. Remember me before I fell, my blood spilt that freedom did not die. Remember me who is your son, your daughter, a husband, a wife, the mother of children, a father to little ones. Remember me, politicians, when you give your speeches to be reelected. Remember me and those like me that did not come home. Remember me and my brethren laying in Arlington's fields. Remember me, mama, daddy, your child who has died in our nation's defense. Remember me, mothers and fathers who said, not mine, who said, let some others. Remember me when you see my family cry, and remember me when your family gathers that I will not be with mine. And remember me at Christmas and Thanksgiving, all holiday gatherings in between. And remember me when you complain of job hours you are working or of taxes you pay. And remember me when you eat a hot meal in a warm, dry place. Remember me when exchanging presents and gifts before you complain about the one you did not get, the one thing you wanted. You remember me who only wanted a warm blanket, a warm meal, a moment of respite. Remember me as I stand guard watching over you and yours. And remember me when you see your children, your grandchildren too, when they are born. That I saw mine born from afar, a picture and a letter of a beautiful baby boy, a girl. Remember me on Memorial Day and Veterans Day as well. All days you value your freedom that me and my comrades defend for you. Remember me, protesters that spit on me, burn our flag on hallowed ground that me and my comrades died to defend. Your First Amendment right to do so without fear of retaliation, without fear of respite. Remember me, those who would boast that I died and defended, yet you have given little to keep our nation free and alive. Remember me, the 1% that has defended liberty, that has given our lives, that all should be free, that all should sleep in peace tonight. Remember me when a folded flag, triangle in shape, is presented to my kin, 3 volleys fired over my grave, the somber tune of taps is played. Remember me, the one who said, if not me, then who? Who will defend? And again, I used to hear a lot as an Army recruiter. Let somebody else's child go serve, not mine. You know, as a parent, I fully get it. Fully get it. But just remember that somebody else's child does step up to the plate. And Chico, I'm not saying that people shouldn't say thank you to veterans for our service. It just sometimes you know, we get a little uncomfortable with it because we don't know how to answer back. It seems like at times, and just, you know, it's not that we're not appreciative. And it's also a sad example of our nation because how we treated our Vietnam veterans, how we've, and I'm not saying we've gone out of a way to thank this generation of veterans for their service, but you know, and be quite honest, I'd rather have a simple cup of coffee. Just to tell the God's honest truth, I'd rather have a cup of coffee. But it is what it is. But people's accolades and appreciation does not go unappreciated. So please don't take what I'm saying the wrong way, everybody. But just sometimes that's how we feel. Rather, just, you know, get in the habit of asking, well, where did you serve and when did you serve? Oh, cool. I've got a friend that was there at that same time. You know, like I said, when I went to Desert Shield, I was stationed in Germany. Thank you, Chico. Appreciate that, my friend. I saw you said you had your first squib today, Chico. Was it today you shot that, or was it yesterday? But back to serving, you know, I had the privilege and honor of giving 22 years to our nation, and I enjoyed the majority of it. Were there bad times? Certainly, there's always bad times anywhere you go. You can work in a factory, a plant, you can own your own business, still have a bad time, and go through some stuff that's been not always nice. I always tell people when I was a recruiter, I was in one of the most beautiful parts of the country, in the southwest part of Virginia, right in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I hated the job. I was there for 3 long, miserable years as a recruiter, and it wasn't the people of the town or the people I wanted to talk to. It was the way the Army ran recruiting command at the time. It was all about putting bodies into boots and getting them out the door into the Army. My first year out there wasn't too bad. The second year, 9/11 happened, and everybody lost their bloody minds, if you will, and the pressure really increased. I saw where the Army at that point in time had a double standard. During peacetime, the standards are way up here, but in the time of war, oh, hey, yeah, remember me? I called you and we said you were disqualified because you had a tattoo on your thumb. Well, the Army says that's cool now. That never set well with me. If you're good enough to serve in wartime, the same exception should be made in the peacetime. But that's the government. That's regulations and rules. But recruiting duty was probably not my most favorite duty. If anything, I always enjoyed my time right here at Fort Bragg, being in the 18th Field Artillery Brigade most of my career, and shooting one of the most accurate, most precise, and most deadliest weapons in the world, which is known as the M198 155 millimeter howitzer. Fires a high explosive round that weighs approximately 100 pounds. It can fire a rocket-assisted projectile up to the range of 30 kilometers, or roughly about 16 miles. It was 16,000 pounds of cold steel that will make every bone in your body ache and hurt for years to come when you start moving that beast around. And we were considered light artillery. We're supposed to have a 10-man crew, but on average, we operated with 8. And when you're trying to move a howitzer with 8 people, that weight, you wear yourself out. You can wear yourself out. So, but again, like I said, I've had good jumps, I've had bad. Out of all my jumps, the only one I never walked away from was number 13. Of all the jumps I didn't walk away from, number 13 is one that I had to ride off the DZ in an ambulance. Twisted my knee and ankle on the drop zone. One night, I think it was Salerno drop zone. I hit so hard, thought I broke my ribs. Roll over on all fours, like, breathe, breathe. Okay, that's going to leave a mark. And it sure did. I got home, pulled my shirt off that night, and said, yeah. And I was black and blue from my hip to my armpit. I hit so hard. And then, like I said, it just knocked all the wind out of me. The parachute had oscillated. And I went, bam, come down on the side. But hey, stuff happens. Stuff happens. So who else still over in the side chat? Sound off over in the side chat. Throw a comment out there. Let me know you're still out there. And that ain't talking to thin air. Gotta find another one to read. I got a couple more I'm gonna read tonight too. 41, 41, 41, 41, 41, 41, 41. Tomb of the Unknown. I think that's what I'll read to y'all next. Tomb of the Unknown. If you don't know anything about the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, there enshrined are the remains of unknown soldiers from, I want to say World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Was he now Patriot Farm? That is so cool. And she's got the terminology right too. Gun bunny. Pull a string, gun go boom. But back to the Tomb of the Unknown. Soldiers from the 3rd Infantry Regiment, known as the Old Guard that tomb day and night, and have done so since, I think it's 1923. Doesn't matter what the weather is, even if they get an exemption to stay in from the weather, they still go out. I was watching a video where they were going through their inspection before they changed it out, and the sergeant of the guard, the rifle slipped from his hand just enough where the bayonet cut into the sentry's foot, and the sentry had another 15 or 30 minutes to go, and did so without missing a beat. Kept going. So the soldiers that guard the tomb are dedicated, to say the least. And so, Tomb of the Unknown. In Arlington lies in somber rest a soldier unknown. Life given that we should be free from tyranny and oppression. Here lies a soldier unknown. Guarded day and night through all seasons as the years go by. From the splendor of spring, the harsh heat of summer, the change of colors of the fall, the snows and ice of winter. Here rests in honored glory an American soldier, known but to God. May he rest here always in eternal slumber, a reminder that some gave all. And many have served, and many have given their last full measure in service. Oh, wow. Your granddad had some very hazardous duty, Warsaw. B-17 crews were definitely a dangerous duty. Definitely. He's asking, what the person? Germany is really it. Every time I got ready to go do something, something come up and I couldn't go. When I was getting ready to go tour France, my dad died, so I had to go back home for it. When I was getting ready to take another trip, Desert Shield kicked off, and I had to go for that. So outside of if you want to count just landing at airports, I've been to England, Ireland, and Italy. But I mean, like I said, that was just the airports. Didn't even get off the plane on one of them. So 26. Because normally 25 was the normal limit. They'd rotate the crews back home. So that was the thing, getting to that 25th mission so they could come home. A lot of them would get to 23 or 24 and then be shot down. B-17s and B-24s, not particularly fun duty. But I think the norm was 25, but some people did more than that. You had a crew that you would be assigned to one bomber, but sometimes, when the military, being with the military, this crew short a guy, hey, can we borrow your tail gunner or whatever the case may be. And they can, they do things like that. Army's notorious for loaning soldiers to each other from one unit to another from time to time. But that's really about it. Germany's the only place in Europe that was really ever stationed. And I got to see a portion of it. I went to Stuttgart and Ludwigsburg to see my best friend when he was there. Been to Munich. Munich's a beautiful city. I've been to Kempsey. I've been to Berchtesgaden. Berchtesgaden is phenomenal. It's some of the most gorgeous mountains I've ever seen in my entire life. If you've ever watched Band of Brothers and the part where they get up there and they take the eagle's nest, that's where Berchtesgaden's at. And in the wintertime, it is just breathtakingly beautiful. In the summertime, Kempsey, which is a lake down near Munich, is absolutely phenomenally beautiful. There's a lot of them that didn't come back, Warsaw. You're absolutely right. B-17 duty and B-24 were hazardous. And the worst part about it, the Americans had to fly day missions. The British flew night. That was kind of the arrangement. Yeah, I like Band of Brothers. I like the jump scenes because it lends a lot of realism to my dad's stories. He used to talk about his combat jumps in World War II. After seeing what they did with the computer imagery to make that, it was just vividly brought back to me his story of his jump into D-Day. I was like, ooh, wow. The people that made it very realistic. Well, in Pacific, you had B-17s, but they didn't have to deal with as much of the flak as they did in Europe. Lever Guns 50, good to see you with us tonight, sir. Thank you for joining us. How have you been? We're just sitting here chit-chatting about veterans and service and some of our fun times in the military and some of our not so fun times and the things that we enjoyed doing and things we didn't enjoy doing. One of my worst things I hated in the Army was going to the dentist. Oh, you're talking about the TV show, The Pacific. Oh, yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah. It was all right. Of course, it didn't, it had a little bit different theme to it as it was covering more more individual stories than it was the story of one particular unit over another, but it was well written. The Guadalcanal piece, I think, was very well done, and it lent to the fact, a lot of people don't realize, the units that fought on Guadalcanal like to starve to death. A lot of people don't realize that. Because at the point we were trying to take Guadalcanal, our fleet in the Pacific had not fully recovered from Pearl Harbor. So getting reinforcements in, getting other supplies in was a tedious task to say the least. Then to top it all off, the primary effort was Europe. Well, we didn't get to mainland Europe until 1944. We kind of got there via North Africa, where we got where our army got their baptism of fire. So a lot of people don't realize it, too. The Army made more amphibious landings in the Pacific than the Marines did. Marines don't like to say that, but it's the truth. And why? There's more Army units in the Pacific than there was Marines. It's just the nature of the beast. But anyway. All right, well, I've got another one here for you. And this one goes to read, or this one's titled Those Who Have Served. It goes to read, those who have served, a simple thank you seems not enough, but all can muster to say. Your needs behind you, those of the nation you placed ahead of you, sacrifice and selfless service. Time you gave at holidays and birthdays, you missed and gave that a nation is safe today. Some of you, a career you made of this, others just a term or two, all served nonetheless. This you did freely of your own. Some not so, but all gave their time. To say thank you, as I have said above, seems not enough, given the time you gave up. But thank you is all I have, that I can say, that to you I can give. So with that said, humbly I say, to those who have served today, Veterans Day, we say thanks. And granted, it's still, as a veteran, still kind of get uncomfortable when people say it, because you don't know how to respond. It's not, again, though we're not appreciative of it, it's just hard to, like I said, respond and engage the conversation, I guess. But M1 was a good rifle Warsaw. My dad preferred it over others that they had. Depending on the belt feds that you were talking about, by the time you got to the 1919 series air cooled, they were pretty reliable, especially when they finally got them modified to take disintegrating link versus the cloth belt. The drawback of the cloth belt, and at the beginning of World War II, a lot of the ammunition that our units were issued were World War I lot ammo. Belts had begun to deteriorate and dry rot. Also in the Pacific, the humidity could have a play on that cloth belt. So they did have some issues. But the M1917 water-cooled 30 caliber was a very reliable machine gun. As a matter of fact, people don't realize that water-cooled machine gun saw service all the way into the Korean War. And they were deadly accurate too, with a good machine gun crew. They Thompsons, but what they found out, Thompsons were expensive to make. That's how they came up with the M3 grease gun to replace it. And Thompson sometimes had a tendency, well, depending on what version of the Thompson. If it was the 1928 version, the cocking handle on the top had a tendency to jam. Now, the M1A1 Thompson, which had the side handle, was fairly reliable, but it had a tendency to rise too as you shot. So the old thought process was you aim low and left, and as you squeeze the trigger, it would kind of make a diagonal pattern across the target. M1 carbines were fairly reliable. Just depends on what you were doing and as to what you're using it for. Danger Granger, good to see you tonight with us. Thank you for joining us. How are you this evening, Danger Granger? Oh, y'all bear with me, folks. My sinuses have been giving me a fit all week, and it's only Monday, right? But I had to go to my doctor last week, so they got me on some meds. It's slowly clearing me up. Slowly clearing me up. Let's see. I'm going to read this next one to you. It's called "The Fabric of Our Freedom." No, you're supposed to keep your weapon clean at all times. Cold and windy, so it's okay. All right, Danger Granger. Stay warm. Stay warm. The fabric of our freedom. The stars are white, glowing so bright in a field of blue, one nation under God, stripes of red and white, the blood of our fallen dead, that we might live free in peace with all mankind. Many places she has flown, places seen etched into the soul of our nation's soldiers, memories that do not fade even with the passing of time. Many still fly her, others defy her. Sadly, some still die for her. In the name of freedom, for the right to be free, to give that right to another, may she still wave, unhindered in the breeze, unfurled and flying free. At a glance, a piece of cloth that appears to those who have bled for her, it is much more dear. So the next time that you see her, pause and remember that many have died for her. Take a moment and bow your head. Remember those lost and those who have served, those still serving, protecting Old Glory and all she proudly stands for. I've got one more for the night. We'll use it to close out with here shortly. Yeah, but yeah, Warsaw, you got to keep your weapon clean, even in the field. That used to be part of our daily routine in the field. You'd wake up and do what's called stand to, which is get up right before the sun comes up, and you usually do it right as the sun is going down. The nature behind that is the enemy's most likely to attack just as you bed down or just as you're getting up. So, and then after stand to, we do personal hygiene, eat chow, and then clean weapons if we weren't moving. But weapons maintenance when you're in the field is definitely a daily priority. To include bayonet if you're keeping it clean. A little bit I did danger, not as much as I need to, but I haven't really been keeping up too much with that whole rat race right now. Been focusing on some other things, but I'll do some studying on them when I get some more time. But yeah, you got your priorities, Warsaw, and like I said, one of them being weapons maintenance. And when you're in the rear, at least once a week, you draw weapons and clean them, even if it's just to put a light coat of oil on them, those kinds of things. And that's why the arms rooms have dehumidifiers to help minimize or mitigate rust issue. Because when those weapons, they go out, they get scratched, they get scuffed, the coating starts to come off, they're eventually going to rust. And you got to do everything you can to try and prevent that. But And I appreciate that, Warsaw. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, fun times in the service. Some not so fun. Been places that I never imagined going. Got to keep an open mind, Danger. I'm not opposed to certain things. Um, I just think that the party he represents has become so corrupt and so polluted that he could be the most honest man in the world, and they're not going to listen to him. And the Republicans really are not much better either in that regard. One, because they don't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up and hold people. They claim accountability, but it's a big mess. Um, I've heard of the HK 416 Warsaw. I've never really put my hands on one, but Heckler and Koch makes a good firearm. They have for years. They were the manufacturer of the G3 that the German army used for years. That was their main battle rifle up until when they stopped using the G3 in the Bundeswehr. Matter of fact, Heckler and Koch still makes the firearm that the German army uses today. Oh, Danger! A lot of times parties start off for the good, um, but with the corruption and greed of man, it's like in the unions. I'll put this out there to get away from off the politics, because really tonight's supposed to be for Veterans Day. But I'll say this: there was a time and place in this nation that unions were a great and wonderful thing. I'm of the opinion not so much anymore. Why? Because so many of them have become corrupt. I would tell you, order you one of these, Danger, and get to know it, and get to know it. That is what we need to abide by. It's still a two-sided coin. Truth, I say we got conservative and we got liberal. No more Republican and Democrat. I just say conservative and liberal, and I lean conservative. Christian conservative is my values, with a slice of compassion, you know. But anyhow, anyway. Um, we've been at this for an hour and 8 minutes, folks. But Danger, keep that in thought when you join it. If you can, join us next Monday, and we'll talk about that. Hey, Crazy Scotsman, how are you, brother? Good to have you with us. But you're most welcome, Danger. But keep that on your mind and bring that up on our next Monday after we have our poetry reading next Monday. I'd like to continue to talk to you about this, Danger, if you would like to keep the dialogue open. I imagine you have, Scotsman. I haven't seen you post a lot lately. So, is it work keeping you busy? Hmm. Cool beans, Danger. I'm just sitting there watching the side chat, folks. But I got you, Scotsman. Understand. Well, Danger, if you gotta roll out, friend, I understand. The weather causing your power to go out. Anyway, folks. Well, like I said, we've been at this now an hour and 10 minutes. I hope everybody has enjoyed the poems and the poetry. We're going to close out with this last one that I've titled A Prayer for the Fallen Warrior. Gotcha. Will you be careful, Danger? Please be careful. But this last one we're going to close out with tonight. Prayer for the Fallen Warrior. And it goes to say this. Father, we humble ourselves before you this day. We exalt your name always and give you thanks for thy blessings you give to us each day. Today, Father, we ask for your grace to shine upon those whose life has been given in sacrifice, so that we may live free in this nation today. Into your arms we place these souls. We ask for thy love to shine upon them. Remove the horrors of war from their thought. We give them unto you, Father. We lay them in this hallowed ground. Here may they sleep in eternal rest. To you we commend their souls. And Father, we also pray that you may grant strength to the wife or husband who now sits home alone, the memory of their spouse now gone. Or the mother and father at a picture they gaze of a son or a daughter upon the mantel placed beside the nation's flag folded, the picture is placed. Oh, Father, grant this grace for the child at the doorway who stands and waits, who looks up and asks, when is mommy or daddy coming home? Too young to understand, grant them when they are older to know that this sacrifice was for them. We ask this prayer in the sweet Savior's name, our Lord Jesus. Amen. I hope y'all like that, folks. And I hope everybody enjoys the remainder of their Veterans Day. Been a pretty good one for me. Like I said, come home, Mrs. Old Soldier made me steak and taters, my favorite meal, steak and potatoes. So I had a good meal. So we had a good time. Idaho Rogers, USMC. Good to have you with us here. Just as we're getting ready to close out too, my friend. But nonetheless, you're here. So we appreciate you joining us. And belated happy birthday to your Marine Corps. As if you don't know, folks, the Marine Corps celebrated their 244th or 46th birthday, I believe it was. That's how old the Marine Corps is. And they stand the Marines now. I give the Marines credit. They celebrate their appreciate that, Warsaw. Marine Corps really takes pride in their birthday. So, but
I love you.
I love you. I got sugars from Mrs. Old Soldier. I'm a lucky man.
You are lucky.
244. Okay. I knew it was either 244 or 246. My math ain't keeping up with me as much as it used to.
So much.
But now I'm about to tell a joke. Don't get mad. But did the Marine Corps birthday cake have all the colors of the Crayola rainbow? That's a joke, folks. We in the Army, we tease Marines by saying they're crayon eaters. They have some fond affections for us as well. But it's all in good camaraderie. At the end of the day, we help each other out. I've got much respect for the Marines. Because they got to go everywhere with the Navy, and that's rough on them. And if Keith, you're still out there, I know y'all got to put up with the Marines, but the Army, we got to put up with the Air Force, and nobody ever talks about the Coast Guard. So there you have it. All the jokes are out of the way. Great. All right, I'll remember that, Idaho. I'll remember that. But anyway, folks, I'm going to close this thing out. It's 8:14 my time here in North Carolina. I appreciate each and everybody for coming out and supporting this tonight. But if you didn't see all of it, get a chance, go back and watch the replay. We read some really great poems, or I think really great. And it might have, but I hope you enjoyed it tonight. I really appreciate, like I said, everybody coming out. And again, I hope everybody else enjoys the remainder of their Veterans Day. And God bless. Take care until we get together again next Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here with the Old Soldier. Be back reading some more poetry and prose. If you get a chance, hit me on an email at rantsofanoldsoldier@gmail.com if you want to hear some Christmas poetry. If you do, I'll try to come up with 1 or 3 as we're getting ready to go into the Christmas and Thanksgiving season. So other than that, and if you got a favorite poem out of my books that I've read or you've seen on my videos, tell me which one it is, and I'll be glad to put that in on next week's programming. With that being said, we're going to close this thing out. God bless. Take care. Charities, let me cover that right quick. TunnelsToTowers.org, Valor for Veterans, Pin Up for Vets, and Folds of Honor. They can't do it by themselves, folks. If you could help them out, they would greatly appreciate it. So check them out when you get a chance. And until we meet again, my friends, God bless. Take care. It's the Old Soldier out.